Well, welcome everybody once again to another special Vancouver Canucks B&B Hockey Talk edition. I'm Aaron Bloxall with my co-host, Mr. Matt Balzer. Matt, Canucks have played 4 times since we last talked. They continued that 6-game road trip with a stunning come-from-behind loss to the Pittsburgh Penguins. Then they got the split with Edmonton on the home and home at the back end of that road trip, and of course their first home game back. And then we get the Alex Burrow's Ring of Honor night just last night against the Ottawa Senators. Let's start there. The Dragon Slayer himself put up into the rafters the Ring of Honor of Rogers Arena in Vancouver here. What did you think of the night last night? And boy, did the Canucks ever seem to feed off of it.
Oh yeah, it's just like, well, just from the start of the broadcast, just before they cut to the game, they started off with that overtime goal against Chicago. It's just every time I watch that, it's like, you just get the chills. It's probably the greatest goal in Canuck history, at least from my viewpoint. But yeah, it's like going from there, and then you had the great video tribute with the Sedins narrating his story and his career, and then Burrows gave an awesome speech at center ice.
You mentioned Juice and Cass.
Yes. And actually, I didn't know about Mason Raymond being his roommate. I thought that was pretty good. And Mason Raymond, I don't think that guy has aged a day. He's being drafted. My goodness.
Apparently, he's a farmer now too. So
yeah. I saw that first intermission interview that he had with Murphy there. It was actually pretty cool to catch up with him. And then even though they even showed his last goal as a Canuck, and I totally forgot it was like that bat out of midair past Kiprusoff. I was like, man, that's ages ago now.
Yeah.
Time
sure flies. I mean, it just seems like yesterday the Canucks were in that 2011 Stanley Cup run.
Oh yeah, it's just like you want to talk about clutch. It's just like, well, it's just like Elaine Vigneault jokes. She's like, oh, he probably saved my job twice. And it's just like it's like with that OT goal, and then way back when the Canucks were in a 12 or 13 game losing streak, and then
he scored in overtime and broke his stick over his leg or something like that.
Yeah. I think it was in the final couple minutes of the third period against Carolina in the tie game. He got a breakaway, and he did that patented backhand upstairs goal, and he tried stabbing his stick, but he couldn't get to go.
Yeah. Oh, a lot of NHL fans that are not Vancouver fans were wondering why the Canucks were honoring and putting Burrows in the Ring of Honor. But I think his story inspires people. I think his work ethic inspired people. His stats weren't necessarily the greatest, but that's because he did it all. He penalty killed. He was on the power play. He was on a checking line with Kessler. I remember his first NHL game. He was on a line with Bertuzzi. And then he got a chance finally later in his career to play with the Sedins, and he really took advantage of that.
Oh yeah, and you want to talk about like one of the best lines in hockey, if not the best line in hockey, when the Sedins and Burrows were in their primes. Like they were unstoppable. It's like it was crazy what they could do out on the ice together. And the Sedins like they bring up, it's like, was Burrows the best player that they've ever played with on a line? No, but was he like the best fit on that line? And it's like, yes. It's just like he just knew where to go on the ice, and let the Sedins do their cycle game, and just go into the right spots, and then rack up the goals that way.
And it was interesting to hear from him yesterday. He said he had watched the Sedins for about 5 years. So when he got the opportunity to play on their line, he had a feeling he knew where to go. And he said it just clicked. It just worked.
Yeah, and then another thing that I did, Thomas Drance with Athletic, he dropped a story on there where he got the accounts of 16 different either players or coaches, and it was about the Game 7 overtime goal. And I guess he spent a couple months on this, but he got interviews from like Taves, Kane, Kessler, Bieksa, and like all the guys around during this time from the start of the series to the end of the series, and broke down all the guys' perspective and everything on what happened, which I thought was like it was like a totally crazy experience, because it's like going back to the Blackhawks and Canucks rivalry over those 3 straight years. Like, you want to talk about like much watch hockey and some of the most intense nail biting games I've ever been a part of. I think Tay sort of brought up that it's just like it reminded him of like those Red Wing Avalanche series way back in the day. And I gotta say, like, even though I wasn't don't remember those series off from my time, but yeah, it's like for those series, like those are the ones I always remember as a Canuck fan.
Yeah, and a lot of people don't forget that the Canucks were up 3-0.
Yeah.
That series, and they almost blew it, but they managed to pull it out. And of course the rest. Like, I heard they beat Nashville in 6. They beat San Jose in 5. And I heard from Yannick Hansen yesterday that the 5 games against San Jose were the toughest.
Mm-hmm.
Because he said, back then they had such a good team, but every game was so close and pretty much a goal game. He just remembered those games being so hard to win, but they were able to always come up on the winning side of things. And then, of course, Boston that year was an unbelievable team as well.
Mm-hmm.
But that being said, the game started off with a bang. Good friend of Alex Burrow's, Antoine Roussel, back in the lineup after being off for probably like 9 months now since his knee injury. First game back, and he scores right away, celebrates by pointing up to Burrows. And that's quite the moment.
Oh man, it's like and it's just like you just get the chills, because like he's one of those guys with the emotion that he plays with. Matt, it's just like, dude, man, it's like it's like you want to run through a brick wall for that guy, because he does everything. So yeah, it's just like heck of a pass first by Gaudette to set him up there, and then just going around, and then you just see all the emotion pour out. Yeah, and then there's him point. It's like as soon as he points, it's like everybody. Oh, it's just like he's pointing right where Burrows' Ring of Honor plaque area corner was to get things started, and then the Canucks just kept rolling from there. They scored 4 goals in that first period, and some of them were like perfect Burrows-like goals. You had the nice Tanev pass to Pearson for the tap in, and then the Besser pass to Pettersson for the tap in beside the net. And then lastly, we had the Zach McEwen scoring his first career goal in the NHL off a nice tip from Jordy Ben's shot. Yeah, it's just like the whole crowd, everybody was feeding off that energy. And it was even nice, I think, towards the end of the game where the Alex Burrows chant from the fans, which I thought was a nice touch there.
I think they came out flying. I just wish that they could keep up momentum somehow through 60 minutes, because they really looked like the worst team of the 2 on the ice last night in the second and third period. And Ottawa almost got back into that game, but the Canucks were able to finish off and win 5-2. They get through the weekend with a split, winning 5-2 in Edmonton. Everybody wanted to forgive Louis Eriksson. And then they come home and they lose 3-2 to Edmonton. And Louis Eriksson took a couple of penalties that ended up in 2 Edmonton Oilers goals. And everybody, again, wanted to banish him to the farm.
Yeah, let's first start off with the win. So yeah, of course, everybody was so pumped or amazed, shocked, whatever you want to call it, that Louis Eriksson got his first goal of the season off a really nice passing play. And I know
the line was great that night, by the way. Like the Horvat, Pearson, Eriksson line played so good on Saturday, but then you could see they were just really not the same team on the Sunday game.
Yeah, so it's like Pearson had the big night there, 2 goals, 4 points, a career high for points in a game. He came out flying. Horvat, 3 assists. And then we had Tyler Grajovic, who I know is injured now. He scored off a nice snipe off the post and in. Yeah. And I know off that Eriksson goal, I know he didn't get an assist, but that Quinn Hughes saucer pass to Pearson to spring that rush was insane. It's just like I think Hughes, especially in that game against Edmonton, I saw a nice improvement because in the first period, I think about midway through the first period, I think Draisaitl broke down the right wing. And I remember the first game of the season, Draisaitl just manhandled Hughes. Like he was,
Yeah.
yeah, there was no.
And this time it was almost the same play, but he couldn't get away from him.
Yeah, he angled him out nicely behind the net, and I believe he was actually able to steal the puck after, or if not, check him, which I thought was a nice touch, especially on the defensive side. That's where you want to see how he's improving. So I was really happy on that front. And does Quinn Hughes ever make a bad pass? Like I don't think.
I'd say yes, but it's rare. You don't see it that often.
Yeah,
I like the way he passes, but he did get lots of ice time because Alex Edler dropped down with an injury. Looks like he'll be out about 2 weeks. So of course the Sunday game they don't have their number one defenseman in ice time in the lineup, and like I said, they didn't look the same.
Yeah, so I think the big thing was the penalty kill with the 2 goals that Draisaitl scored. The Eriksson
no goalie stopping either of those.
Yeah,
so.
Yeah, it's just the tough thing with the Eriksson penalties is like I think Darnell like I feel bad for Eriksson because I thought Nurse sort of embellished on both of them.
I think he absolutely embellished on both of them. I think I had a harder time with both because the high stick didn't get him where he sold that it got him. And then, for him to act, it was interference, what Louis Eriksson did, but man, Darnell Nurse really tried to sell it, and it was pretty ugly to watch.
Yeah, it's like the whole 360 thing. I thought the refs actually had a rough night because, I think Tanev got boarded by Neal towards the end of the game. But even on the
and that play, a lot of people wanted a boarding penalty, but I think Neal actually tried to stop him from going into the boards. But then I saw why Tanev was down in the first place, and Neal can open them.
Yeah,
and so there should have been a penalty for tripping on that play, if anything, right? And then after he can open them, he kind of grabbed them, was trying to protect them from going to the boards hard. I felt.
Yeah. I actually because I watched it slowly on one of the replays, and he actually does sort of grab his back like at the last instant and try to hold him back just a little bit. So it's not like he meant to do it, but I thought it was a penalty. But I thought even on both sides, because I think before McDavid took that holding call on Chris Tanev, I think at center ice he was flying, and then somebody gave him
Pedersen grabbed him pretty good.
Yeah, and I couldn't believe that wasn't a penalty. And then the other rough thing was in the final minute with the goalie pulled. I forget who had the point shot, and Koskinen gloved it, and usually that's when the ref blows the whistle.
He played it, yeah.
But yeah, he was somehow able to take like a step or two with the puck in his glove and drop it and continue to play with everybody around him, which I was shocked that the refs didn't blow that down. But yeah, it's like the penalty kill when you got McDavid and Draisaitl doing their thing. Usually there's not a whole lot you can do, though. I think on the game winning goal, I thought the guy sort of got caught all on one side because you never, like, I know you're the man short, but you can't leave Draisaitl that wide open.
No, but there was 3 really good passes before it got to him. They really moved that puck around well. The game before that, the Canucks lose 8-6 to Pittsburgh. They looked flat in the first, being down 2-1, and then they had a great second period and a great start to the third period, and then the wheels fell off, blowing a 6-3 lead. Evgeny Malkin showed up for Pittsburgh, and they just I think the timeout that Travis Green called was too little too late.
Yeah, so it's such a weird game. Like, this was an 8-6 loss, but the Canucks didn't get their first shot on goal until like 14 minutes into the game, which boggles my mind. You can score that many goals, but wait that long to get your first shot. I think they were outshot like 12-0 before they finally got their first shot. And first it was the surprise start for Demko because Markstrom fell ill.
Yeah.
But yeah. Then Matt Murray's luck continued with him getting pulled again. I think all 3 starts against the Canucks now. He's letting 4 goals. So let's start with a positive for the.
Well, just all 4 games are so different from each other that they played this last week that I think there's a good learning experience to learn from all of them, and a lot of the young kids are definitely learning.
Yeah, especially with the injuries to Sutter and Beagle, like Green just has to basically ride Bo Horvat for all the faceoffs because Gaudette, offensively, he's actually been pretty good this week. He had 2 goals in that game. He had 2 assists last night against Ottawa. But when it comes to faceoff circle, that is something that he still needs to improve on mightily. We saw that right off from the first goal that Malkin won back to Gensel for that one. But he still ended up having the 2 goals, especially that second goal that he had to make it 6-3. That was a really nice goal. And then Quinn Hughes continues to do his thing in that game, 3 assists. And another thing that I'll bring up is like how he can walk the line on the power play, or just in general with guys right on him and still be able to keep the puck in is crazy good. And then
I think he's 5th now in the NHL, by the way, for assists this year.
Yeah, he's 21 assists in 28 games, which is crazy for a rookie. Between him and Cal McCarr just going back and forth between performances, it's something fun to keep track of. And then so then they're up 6-3 in the third period. It's like, oh man, they got this. They can't give this up.
I never felt that they had it. I mean, I was glad they had the lead, but as soon as Pittsburgh scored to make it 6-4, I thought, the bottom's about to fall out, and sure enough, it sure did.
Yeah, it's like he had that one first. He had Myers running into Demko for some reason, and then the Malkin goal. Edler and Virtanen both started watching instead of closing the gap, and then Malkin blasts that one there. And then the tying goal, I believe Edler had lost his stick and Stetcher was in front. They both decided to check the same guy in front of Jonas and Reese open. And so it's just like all like these defensive lapses and stuff where it's just if you take another step or whatever, then you can make the play. But but yeah, as you brought up, it's just like with the
done by our armchair watchers like us. So we already talked about Edler being out for 2 weeks. What else? What do we have in the injury ward for the Canucks?
Yeah. So we're still waiting to get a bunch of guys back. Because like we're a lot of guys close, but of course, Edler will be re-eval in 2 weeks with an upper body injury. Jay Beagle, Tyler Mott, and Tyler Grajovic are all on injured reserve. Beagle still day to day. He could be a possibility on Saturday. Tyler Mott, we're still waiting to hear a timeline on him. And Tyler Grajovic, he blocked a shot off his ankle. And I believe Green said he's going to be out for a little while here. And Brandon Sutter and Michael Furlan were put on long-term injured reserve, but that was just more for cap-related reasons.
Yeah.
As they're both pretty close. I think they're both skating with the team right now. And if we get both of those guys back, that'll really help. It'll be interesting to see if we do get Beagle and Sutter both back in the lineup, how they handle Gaudette. Because I think I like him to stay at the center position, but have Sutter take the faceoffs and have Sutter play the wing. I think that would be best. Just the way that Gaudette's been playing offensively, I think I'd like to keep him in that third line role. But just getting those guys back will really help. Because it's been nice to see Zach McEwen and Grajovic both be able to chip in. But getting those bigger bodies back, like Roussel was that first step in getting everybody back. And I actually really liked him and Virtanen together as well. So, but yeah, it's fun there. And then the big one, Olli Juolevi, the mystery injury that we were all wondering about for the past couple of weeks ended up being hip soreness. So I'm guessing they thought it might have been something a little bit more serious. That could have been.
Come back to Vancouver and met with some specialists, and it turned out to be nothing major that they're telling us anyways.
Yeah, so he's back down in Utica. He was skating with the team. I'm not sure when exactly he'll be back in the lineup, but luckily he caught a break here for once, and hopefully he can get going. It does suck that he did get hurt, because with Edler down, this would have been actually a prime time to actually get him up with the team and maybe get him into some games and see where he was at. But with another injury, he's
yeah.
Right back.
Let's keep moving along. Utica is rolling along. Why don't you update us on some of their stats?
All right, yeah. So still the Brogan Rafferty show down in Utica. He put up a bunch of points. He's now up to 2 goals, 16 points in 22 games. I believe he's on pace for over 50 right now as a rookie defenseman. Yes, he's 24 years old, but still very impressive in his first pro career, first pro season. Also, Sven Berchi comes back, and of course the Utica Comets, they start winning again. He now has 14 points in 10 games. Reed Boucher, for those wondering, continues to lead the AHL in goals. He has 15 in 17 games, as he's basically the David Pastrnak of the AHL right now. And then Cole Lind got in his first career fight against Rasmus Sandin against the Toronto Marlies. But he also put up a few more points. He's now up to 16 points in 22 games, which is just one back of what he had last year. And Jonah Gadovic tied his goal total from last season. 4 goals, 5 points in 8 games. He had 4 goals in 43 games last year, so it just shows the difference there. It's nice to see him back from injury as well. And Jalen Chatfield, who got called up, I guess he's been playing well at defense, but he still only has the 1 assist in 18 games. But I guess his two-way game has been going pretty good, which earns.
Yeah, he's kind of like the Chris Tanev, I find, of Utica, and I think that's why they brought him up to the Canucks, as they're looking for that defensive defenseman. But moving along, Utica. Yeah.
Yeah, I forgot to touch on DiPietro, so I'll quickly touch on him. He's now up to 7-4-1 in 13 games with a .913 save percentage. He's really starting to separate himself from Zane McIntyre, who has a .904 save percentage in 10 games, as he continues to be one of the best young goalies in the AHL.
The Utica Comets keep on rolling along. I believe they're third in their division. And it's nice to see some of the prospects that are improving a lot over last year already, and to see that the system is deep. So a handful of prospects were named to their respective World Junior tryouts, which didn't include Canadians Jet Wu or Carson Falk out of the Calgary Hitmen. But why don't you catch us up on that?
Yeah, so four Canuck prospects. 3 of them I think are shoo-ins, I think, for making their team, and one is just because I don't know much about the player. So Vasily Podkolzin was named to Russia's selection camp. Niels Hoglander with Sweden. Tony Utonen, forgot his first name off. Okay, yeah, I was trying to run his. I was thinking Yoni, but I'm pretty sure it's Tony. Tony Utonen, who's a returning player for Finland. And Karel Plasik with the Czech Republic. Plasik, just because I didn't know a whole lot about him. He was playing in the Czech men's league, but as a younger player, he only has 2 goals, 4 points in 21 games. But for the under-20 team, he had a goal and 5 points in 6 games. So I'm not sure how much of a shot he has, but the Canucks should have at least three players at the World Juniors this season.
Yeah. Why don't you update us on some of the other prospects as well? Carson Falk might not have made the Canada short roster, but he did score the teddy bear toss goal the other night.
Yeah, it's like, oh man, it's like that video. It's just like the teddy bears were just raining down. They just kept coming and coming.
The Calgary Hitmen organization always does a great job. And man, the Hershey Bears setting a record this year. That was just insane to watch the videos on that one.
Oh, and I found Michael DiPietro. I think he was asked about the type of games he's been in on the road, if he'd ever been in part. He's like, well, I had 3 shutouts, so you can basically call me the Grinch.
I heard that story last night. I thought it was pretty funny.
Yeah, that cracked me up. But Carson Falk, up to 15 goals, 24 points in 22 games. Jet Wu, his teammate, 3 goals, 14 points in 25 games. His offensive game's starting to take off a little bit here of late. But the big one, Tyler Madden, just absolutely continues to rip up the NCAA. Up to 12 goals, 22 points in just 16 games. Just to put this in perspective, last year he had 12 goals and 28 points in 36 games. Mm-hmm. So in 20 less games, he's already matched his goal total, and he's only 6 points back from matching his point totals from last year, which is just crazy. And his teammate, or his fellow Canuck draft pick, Aidan McDonough, who's down there, is now up to 10 points in 13 games. Niels Hoglander, 6 goals, 8 points in 18 games in the Swedish league. And lastly,
Palmu.
Yes. Petrus Palmu, now up to 8 goals, 21 points in 18 games. with JYP, I believe, in the Finnish league. And of course, he only had 4 goals, 18 points in 29 games last year in the Finnish league. So a big step there for him. And Puck Olsen, still getting regular ice time actually in the KHL. Still doesn't have a point, but he was so close to getting his first goal. And he was wide open in the slot. And but the goalie just robbed him with his toe. If it was just a little bit more to the goalie's right, he finally would have got his first point and goal in the KHL. But we'll basically be waiting for him at the World Juniors for him to hopefully finally have an offensive explosion, hopefully for Russia. But yeah, that basically rounds up the prospects right now. But Tyler Madden is still the standout to watch.
Yeah. Matt, anything else before we wrap up today's show?
No, I think that's about it for the Canuck news. You'll find all the highlights and news on our Facebook page at B&B Hockey Talk. Our NHL edition videos, we're looking to revamp them a little bit, maybe do something a little bit different, but we will hopefully be starting that next week as we go in. But it'll be something different for you guys, something different for us, and all that. But stay tuned for that.
Stay tuned. And we'll be back next week, of course, with our Vancouver Canucks edition of B&B Hockey Talk. I'm Aaron. He's Matt. Thanks again for listening. Thanks for your support. And we'll be back next week. So have a good evening, everyone.